Hello and welcome back to Deadly Sin Gaming. I'm Sinrose and today I'm here to talk to you about iron farms. Oh yes, specifically iron farms in 1.14 and what you can do to make your own. Now there's two versions that I'm going to show you and you guys can kind of pick and choose which one you want to go for. Um, the one behind me I would say is potentially faster, potentially, um, but less efficient. So what does that mean? So this was running for probably 2 to 3 hours last night while I was building that building down there for a video I was doing. Um, and so that's about how much iron I was getting. It's about 2.5 stacks of iron per half hour to an hour. Just depends on rates and stuff like that. So if I set the time to day here, we should start to get some spawns in. What makes this farm faster but yet less efficient is the fact that it's faster because you have more chances to get gossip spread between villagers because you just have a ton of them. This is 112 villagers and they are all talking to each other in I believe 2 times a day, right before work, after they get up, and then after work. Between the hours of work, which I believe is it's either at 2,000 or 3,000 ticks for the hour or for the day, and then at 9,000 is definitely, yep, see they're starting work now. So if we do time query day time, yeah, so at 2,000 is when their work day starts, and then at 9,000 they'll stop. So if we set the time now to 9,000, or just before, so they've now stopped working, and now they're going to be talking with each other. And now the idea here is that, if you guys don't already know, that the way villagers now spawn golems is they have to gossip and inquire about whether or not a golem is needed. So if we do this command here, get entity, and then we take this guy's entity and then gossips, you can see he has a bunch of values here, right? So this one here has a value of 98, which is pretty high. The max value that you can see is 100. So he has 1, 2 values, and then he has a -3. So it's a -3 because at this point a golem had spawned. He recognized the golem had spawned, so then it's like, oh, we don't need any more golems. Just destroy the value. Afterwards, the golem had either died or recognized that there was more villagers than golems, and then the values went back up, and they stayed up for a bit, and then more golem spawns. Then the values went back down. A golem will only spawn, I believe, if the value of the gossip is higher than 30. But yeah, so right now, I think it's just, this is a bad day. But why is this farm not as efficient? Well, the entities, more or less. Because you're looking at, 112 entities in a world. In a single player world, it's probably not as significant of an issue. But It can be if you are looking at a multiplayer server and stuff like that. This can easily lag or help contribute to the lag of a server. Um, just because of all the entities that are just roaming around doing their thing. It's more efficient, it's faster because of the number of gossips being spread at any given time. So when golems do spawn, they spawn a lot. So we now set this back to day. Hopefully we can get a golem to spawn. Yep, see, like I said, they build up all these gossips between all of the villagers, and then the gossips just kind of explode during the times. So you get a ton of golems at one time. And then this is where all your iron will come from. Oh, kind of falling out of that. It's a little loud. And then that will happen once, I believe, during the morning before work, and then once after work. Or at least a few times. It can only happen every 60 seconds in game that a golem can spawn. So now that golems have spawned, no more will spawn for at least 60 seconds, even if there are primed gossip. You can hear that they're starting to work now, so they're either way they're not going to spawn any golems. So this farm is quite easy to build. All you would need is let's see, some beds, workstation. I just chose a loom because it's the easiest, I suppose. And that's pretty much it. So you build out a platform like so, set up the beds like that, and then you just have do that, a workstation on either side, and then your water would be underneath this bed right here, and you just line them up for the length of the farm. When you go to fill this farm, you want to do one section at a time. So if you're going to start with this bottom layer, build that up, and then put a couple villagers, or however many villagers you have, put them in there. Because what will happen is if you try and fill all of these up at the same time, some of the villagers might take the loom from over here, or a bed from over here, or up there, or over there, and then they'll never be able to access a bed or their workstation, and then golems won't spawn at all, because they also need to have had have worked and slept within 36,000 ticks and 48,000 ticks, I believe, respectively. So when you're doing this, put beds in one section and workstations in one section, and then leave these other three blank, so there's just empty, and then start filling your villagers up. These will act as breeders as well, because of the fact that the villagers have worked and there is unoccupied beds, so eventually these will fill up. Once you stop seeing them spawn in or breed, or all the workstations are filled, this is, I believe, 28 beds, because it's 14 long. I believe that's what it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. 14. Because I believe I put this within a chunk, or at least the width of a chunk. Now I screwed this farm up. It is not within a chunk, but that's fine. It'll work. It works. And then once that's filled up, then you can go and put the workstations in bed on the other one, because those villagers won't change beds or workstations. They will always stick to the one that they've claimed. And unlike previous versions of iron farms that require doors and other villagers and stuff like that, in creating multiple villages is kind of a thing of the past, because the way that the 1.14 works with villages is that the entire world is a village, more or less. It just depends on how many villagers are in a certain area. So like that village down there would technically be a part of this iron farm up here, but we are not within a 64 block radius or 4 chunks away from the closest villager slash workstation. So that's how you kind of can separate these out. Is if you're going to build a couple of these, I would probably suggest putting this in your spawn chunks. It's not as in depth to make your spawn chunks keep working, as far as needing to send items through the nether to constantly tell the server to do stuff. It's just put it in there and it'll run slowly, but it'll run nonetheless, and give you a decent amount of iron and poppies if that's your thing. But yeah, pretty simple to build. If you guys really want me to do a full tutorial on this, then I can. But in the meantime, let me hop over to the other world where I have built another iron farm that is more efficient. Now here you'll see a more efficient iron farm. Now this design is definitely not finished at all. And just because of the fact that I don't have anything lit up or any of the platforms pulling the golems off the platforms, so they're not disappearing. So if we kind of just kill this guy off here, eventually. Alright, so he dies off. Now, if you guys want to know how many villagers are in this farm, this one specifically has 8. That's it. Just 8 villagers. So entity count is much, much better. I mean, you're talking 8 villagers versus 112 in the last farm. And we'll set the time today. And the reason this farm is similar efficiency, as well as higher efficiency but a little bit slower speed, is just due to the mechanics of how often golems can spawn. So basically, to kind of explain what's going on here, because it's a little in depth to make it work. You have a couple of villagers here. So you have these villagers here, which if I break this open and I get their entity data, get entity, his entity in gossips, he should have 5. Exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they are all high value gossip, which is good. So what happens with that is the fact that these two have high gossip values, but they never lose their gossip, or the gossip never changes when they talk to these villagers, because of the way the villager mechanic works now, where if they are doing an AI task, they can't do anything else. So essentially these two villagers are locked because they're staring at the bore of a gun, more or less, with the zombie right there trying to chase them. So they don't recognize that they can do anything else except for run from this zombie. But these two villagers, who are your spawner villagers, they are constantly losing and gaining gossip throughout the day, as well as they are able to sleep and work. But they talk to these villagers and basically copy the the gossip from the these gossip spreader villagers right here. And these ones here are other villagers considered, I guess, satellite villagers because they're just kind of floating off into the distance here. Um, the nice thing about these guys, what their purpose is that they hold a certain amount of gossip. So one of them has one gossip, one of them has two, three, and then four. And those four gossip are all spread to these gossip spreaders, which each have five. One that they made themselves, and then the four others from these villagers right here. So when a golem is spawned, it needs to have five separate gossips from five different villagers, minimum. So what that means is that these villagers are holding five different values of gossip from five different villagers, themselves included. That's why you have four over here, and they are within the boundaries, which I believe needs to be within 40 blocks of your iron farm to make this work. Now, the video that this is definitely not my idea. I'm not taking claim to this one at all. This one is made from Doc M, who worked heavily with the SciCraft server. And I just I watched the video and I tried my best to replicate, to kind of spread the word out as best as I can. I would suggest, if you want a more in-depth tutorial on building it, going to Doc M's video, which I should link in the description, would be more beneficial because he can kind of explain it and show it a little bit better than I can, seeing as he actually kind of developed it with the SciCraft guys. But the basic idea is that you want to look at your coordinates. I'm not exactly sure what this does overall, but you want to look at your X and Z coordinate and make sure that when you travel that both of them are going in the positive direction. If that is the case, then that is where your satellite villagers must be in relation to the farm. So these satellite villagers are in a positive direction, both south or positive direction each way, as well as vertically as well. So that you can see it's kind of close. I didn't build it perfectly. These guys should be a little bit higher up. But they are higher than these villagers here, so it still works. If I do some time set magic at 9,000, we get more golem spawns. As you can see, we get 2 golems, and then if you set it up, you can have zombies and floating out here. So if I do something like this, so that way these zombies don't run away, but they can still be seen by actually, I might do it this way, and then solid block and zombie. So that zombie's seen by this iron golem, and I would put probably a trapdoor here. So kind of like that. So then they have to see a path, I believe. Yep, so they see that there's a path available to them, and then they'd fall down. So you could do something like that. Just light up this platform, like so, or you could use water streams. It's up to you. Whatever is easiest to do that. Oh, there's another iron golem that spawned down there. Interesting. But basically, when you're starting this out, find your positive direction, which is this way, which I've marked with this corner here, and build a contraption similar to this. So you want to do it like this. Build 4 chambers, like so. And then in glass, you can make it so that they don't escape. Put 2 solid blocks here, and then you can put glass all through here. And make sure that that block is there. That block is very important. And then you also want to be able to have the villagers talk to each other like this. And then what you do is you have a zombie. And you put your slab right here and right there. Plop these guys in there like so. You can either get these zombies to hold something or rename them. I renamed these Gary. These are the Gary zombies. And then make sure that you have 2 sticky pistons to move these blocks up and down. Like that. And then grab yourself a lever. And then now you can move these blocks up and down. Your first thing you want to do such an interesting thing. This is why you light up your platform. Sorry, I got a little distracted. What you want to do first is lower down one side. Get yourself a villager spawn egg. And place down a villager. So on the side that is able to have eyesight with the zombie. Now this villager is locked. He can't do anything in his AI other than run from this zombie, so he won't gain any gossip. However, this villager that is not locked because we have the blocking line of sight to any of the zombies, which is why this glass block is super important, is able to talk with this villager. But this villager doesn't know he's being talked to, essentially. And what will happen then is you come over here, do some data. Oh, not stata. Data. Get entity. This entity gossips. And make sure that he does this during the day, because otherwise they don't talk to each other. And you also don't want to be within range of them, just because them looking at you is part of their AI, which them looking at you locks them as well, which is interesting. So now if we do the same thing, entity, he now has 1 entry for Golem at 100 value. But that's made from himself, because so then what we do now is we lock this villager. Oh, and spawn that one apparently. That was a mistake. We gotta kill him off. Don't matter which one we kill off. Okay. And so he's locked. And eventually, if you don't have commands or you're on a server or something like that, more or less you're gonna have to wait it out. The good amount of time is about 5 minutes or so. 5 minutes will definitely give it to you 99.9% of the time. Minor negative, that was from me hitting him, so that's not a good thing. But you can also see that he also has 2 golem entries as well now. And then the first villager still only has one because he's been locked. What you want to do from here is take this villager out of here and whisk him away. Usually where you want to put him is up in your satellite area, in where the positive direction is. So if you build something like this that just kind of helps you keep oriented where the positive direction is, you can build it straight up from here, up as high as you want to go, and then place him up there either with a water elevator or minecart track, however you want to do it. The way I did this is I just used TP commands, so it just made it a lot easier. I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to kind of kill this guy off. And then what you want to do now is, let's say we teleported him away or moved him out of here, is lock this villager here and spawn another one. Back away so that their AI does not track me. Let them talk for a bit. Da, 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 da. And that should be enough. If I come over here so I don't necessarily have to type everything. There we go. And gossips. He copies the data from the other villager as well as adding one of his own. Now this is copied from him, so he has the minor negative from the time that I hit this one. So this is something you definitely want to try and avoid, because then trades and other stuff are going to be more difficult to occur. Once he has his 3, you make this villager disappear by putting him up into your satellite. Lock this villager, close this zombie off, put another villager in, let them do their thing, letting this villager here copy the gossip from this villager as well as making one of his own, which doesn't take too long as everything goes properly. So data get, entity, gossips, and now he should have 4 golem entries, like so, plus the -1, which the value does go down on the minor negative because he wasn't hit and neither was this one, so he transfers that in a different one. But the values of the golem will stay the same because they think that they need a golem because they're not within range of one. So what then needs to happen is make this villager disappear by putting him up in the satellite area. Lock this villager. Close off that zombie. And place another villager in there. Let them do their little chit-chat talking. And then we check this guy. Just for the purposes of the video, I would definitely suggest waiting a longer time. See, he doesn't have any yet. And we can check every once in a while. Okay, so he got his values. So he has 5 golem entries. That's what we want to see. We want 5 golem entries. From there, what you want to do is build up your platform. Leave those guys like so. They will be fine, as long as they can't be attacked by, let's say, a zombie or whatever. To build this, you just go from here and you go out. I went like at a 45-degree angle, I would say about 15 blocks away, but you want to make sure that you're below these villagers here. And you place your helper block, and that's where that block goes. And then you build up a similar thing to our conversion chamber, more or less. So you have your chamber there, a chamber here. Oh, the zombie disappeared. So has broken. I don't know how this... Oh, you know what? It must have been the golem that killed him. Yeah. Make sure the zombie doesn't die, or he despawned. That's probably what it was, because I didn't have... Oh. Yeah, he despawned. That was all the question. So you do want to rename this guy as well, or give him an item. So this farm is probably broken at this point. First thing you want to do is make sure you definitely have your zombie in there that's renamed, so that way these villagers are locked. If they are not locked, then it kind of breaks everything, and now their gossips are probably reset and destroyed. But yeah, anyway, for the purposes of trying to do explanations here, is build your chamber up right here, a chamber here, a chamber here, and then a little helper blocks out here. So one block down from the block that that villager stands on, and then out 3 blocks. And then what you want to do after that is get another helper block next to here. Change the time to night. Definitely make sure it's nighttime. And then get a villager nearby this bed. But don't place the bed down or your workstation just yet. Have your villager nearby. Make sure it's nighttime. Place down the bed and the workstation like so. And then if the villager hops in the bed and changes his profession, then you've done it correctly. Once that happens, you can break those helper blocks on... Okay. You can break those helper blocks on this one. And then do a similar thing on this side. Have your another villager, an unemployed villager over here. And place down the bed and the workstation and make sure he sleeps and changes professions. And then these 2 spawner villagers are set up. After that, what you want to do is grab the villager that had 5 gossip now, which is this one right here. So as long as you don't touch your levers after you get the 5th villager in here, it'll always be the villager that has the block down. Get this villager up there, and that's where those villagers will be. They'll get put into this chamber, and then you put another villager in there, get 5 more gossip on that one, and put him on this spot right here. And then you want to do that for as many layers as you want to do. And you can do that by coming down here, and from the bed block right there is 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th would be where that next spawning layer will be. And you just replicate this one to down here, and then you just make this platform down wherever the lowest one is just empty, like so. Like this one is here. This is just for you know, purposes of explanation. That's I lost the word. And then you can decide however you want to set up the platform to get these golems off. This is probably one of the easier things to do, unless you are able to successfully set up water columns or water streams. They can be a bit finicky, especially in 1.13 and up, just because of how they've changed with adding in the drowned mobs and making all undead mobs sink and stuff and all that jazz. Yeah. Then once you have your spawning platforms built as long as they're below your satellite villagers and within 40 blocks of them. You then want to take the villager that has 4 gossip and put him in the satellite with the other 3 that you already have up here. However you want to do that. And then after that, your Iron Golem farm will be complete. And the amount of entities will be much, much lower. And lag will be much nicer to you. This farm is a little bit more time consuming to set up than the other one, but it will produce around the same amount of iron if you have a few more spawning platforms than I have here. This is just to give you a basic representation of how modular this can be. So basically just copy this platform down to right here, and then you can have another one here, and then that bottom platform right there, and then you'll have 3 spawning platforms, and you can even expand this outward by having this zombie scare another gossip spreader that stands right here. So you can have 3 here, and then have another spawner villager right here. And then you can expand this platform out however you need. And then the way the platform works and why only specifically these blocks do you want to build is from where the villager is standing, which would be this block here, in the positive directions, which is that way and that way, you want to do, I believe, 8 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I lied. It's 7 blocks in the positive direction. And then in the negative directions, which is be that way and that way, is 8 blocks. So from this villager here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 blocks that way, and then you fill in that space there. And then from this villager, you go out 8 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then 8 blocks this way, which will match up to there. And then 7 blocks this way, which will match up to there. And then that platform can be placed down here. And then these 2 spawner villagers will take care of these 2 platforms here. If you have another one here, then they'll take care of this one, and the one below. And so on and so forth. It's a lot of talking all in one session. But I hope that gives you guys a better understanding of Iron Golem farms. Like I said, DocM's video is going to probably be much more informative than mine. He actually will show you how to build this block by block. But I just kind of wanted to see if I could spread the word a little bit better and whatnot. Get more eyes on the different types of farms, and that way you can kind of decide which way you want to go. And give you guys an idea of, you know, the mechanics behind how iron golems are spawning, and how if we can get something even more efficient than something like this, which, I mean, in my opinion, would be fairly difficult to do. So, I mean, 8 villagers is quite a small amount of them to get this working. It's a lot more upstart effort, but you know, so time set day. I want to see if this is broken. Oh, nope, it's still working. Probably not as efficient though. But as you can see, that's pretty easy to do. As long as you have like a zombies farm, or you just let it go at night and capture some zombies and getting these guys into these little platforms, I'd probably do one on each side, um, and then one per platform, just so the iron golems can see on all sides and stuff like that. Anyways, that's enough from me. That's all the time I have for this today. And I'm just going to kick it over to Eugene Endercam.
Endercam here. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a like. And if you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing to Master Sinrose. As he would say, have a great one, and stay sincere.